let's see, another motto of yours is treat everything you write like a read aloud. Do you read aloud your stories, and who do you read them to?
Yes, I do. I was thinking about a question I've seen you ask before about, if you could sit down with any writer, who would it be? And I think my answer is my critique group to that, and that is where I read out loud. Yes, I think that I think you have to hear your stories out loud. I mean, if you don't choose critique group for that, that's fine. But sit and read them to yourself or your dog or your cat or whoever will listen. Um, you know. That has so much to do with voice. And I feel like there are a lot of manuscripts I read that could be improved on if they'd been heard out loud. You would feel the little bit cringy, gawky part of it, and you would get rid of it, and you would end up with that cleaner manuscript that, had a beautiful and useful lines in it, and not some gook, or just, I mean, even just when we read out loud to each other at our Tuesday tables, my critique group and I, sometimes we'll just hear something that gives our I'll read it out loud and I'll say, "Ooh, I'm not keeping that." Never mind. But you also hear other little sort of writing faux pas and things like that. It's just a great way to catch. Just making more catches. The things that you really don't want in there. But like I say, they do think that the process is so much happening by ear that to hear it out loud is really important.
In your critique group, you meet twice a month and you have breakfast, right? There's 8 of you.
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah. How long have you been together, and how did the pandemic impact your meetings?
We have been together in some form or another for 25 years. And for pandemic, we went from every second and fourth Tuesday to every Tuesday, and we went via Zoom. So we got together more often. We needed, we all needed the sort of, the sort of being in touch just socially. And we really did like that. We've gone back to meeting in person. Not so long ago though, actually. It's interesting. I mean, we every time there's been variant issues or someone has traveled or something, we often will make an adjustment for that. Maybe one person will Zoom in to the breakfast table or whatever when the rest of us are in person. But we're very cautious about each other. But yeah, I mean, I was really grateful for Zoom during that time, and so was everybody. And it was kind of fun too, because we were on the 40-minute Zoom plan. We didn't have the unlimited, so it'd be kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go fill my cup, or I'm gonna run to the bathroom, or whatever, And it was great. It worked very, very well for us, and kept us from, I mean, I think it kept us cheerful during the isolation. We didn't feel so isolated, and we were writing, and we were, we read a lot, so that was great. We worked.
And with your critique meetings, I know you do the social part first, and then you get down to business. Are you just reading aloud what you brought and prepared for that session, or is anybody doing reading before the session and then coming in with notes? How are you doing that part?
Yeah, all of it happens, on the screen or at the table. We don't pre-read. Occasionally, if we're, occasionally we'll ask for, does anybody have time to read, a fix I made on chapter 2 before I meet my deadline, whatever, something like that. We might ask each other for, but no, we're reading sort of fresh, and we reread if we need to. Sometimes we'll hear somebody's novel for years running. And that's kind of how novel writing goes, I think. We also share news when we network a bit, that kind of thing. Catch up on what's been going on in the publishing world. Some of us are doing different things. Some of us travel more than others. Some of us do more school visits than others. So we're it's a great tool, for that. I have some other writer groups that I meet with too, but we don't do critique. So this is the one that, is really, yeah, most about story forming and about hearing the work out loud. And you learn a lot when you hear someone else's work out loud, but you learn the most when you hear your own work out loud. You go, oh, yeah, okay, I'm gonna fix that, or just that you're feeling like it's running very long, or I mean, every once in a while, one of us will drop a page and go, I am boring myself, or whatever. It's all good, it's all good feedback for you, for the story. It's all about making that better,
And I'm going to ask just a little bit of in the weeds questions, and then I'll stop it, I promise.
Okay.
But there's 8 of you, and you're not reading your own work. Somebody else is reading your work, so you can hear it.
No, I'm reading it. We each read our own. We do read our own, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So do you, I mean, I'm assuming there's some limit. I mean, you can't be there for 5-7 hours. Do you have a set limit? I can read 3 pages. I can read 5. 1.
No, I mean, we're actually really, really patient with each other. I mean, generally speaking, in terms of sort of meeting, using the meeting as a deadline, I mean, the pace that most of us are at, we might be lucky to have 3 chapters for a meeting every 2 weeks or something like that. I mean, I don't think any of us write at a super fast pace. But no, I mean, and also there are times when not everyone will have something to read. And so, we usually find that out before we settle down, how many people are reading today. And then we gauge our social, hour or 40 minutes or whatever, we gauge the time we're going to spend on that and get to the work, yeah. So that, we kind of allow for each other, but, we'll stay at that, we'll stay from, 9 a.m. to 2:30 if we need to. So we will, yeah, we're hardcore.
So is everybody else kind of following along and making notes in a manuscript, or just listening and then giving you their immediate thoughts afterward?
We usually go by chapter, and you finish a chapter and you usually get some feedback, and or the questions on their mind, and sometimes the question on someone's mind is simply like a matter of sort of tension and momentum. And it's like, I'll get to that in the next chapter, and then then we move on. But it's neat to know what they're thinking about as they're hearing the story. That to me is really useful feedback. I want you to be looking at the pair of red socks hanging from the tree. I want you to be looking at that. So I'm glad that helps me to know, oh, that is an image that is standing out and they're remembering it.
I am deeply jealous. This sounds like a wonderful group.
Oh, it's wonderful. Wonderful. They're my heart and soul. We're also very good friends after all this time. So that's really special, that we help each other out when there's other things going on, like knee replacements and stuff like that. If somebody has something happening in the family and could use a meal, we are our own small community in that way too.
Oh, that sounds just wonderful.
It is. It's good.
Well, I promised that I would start to bring this thing in toward a landing. So there's one last writing motto that you've got listed that I love. I wanted to ask you about, and that's write what you can't ignore. What can't you ignore?
Yeah. I mean, I think we started to talk about this earlier. I can't remember if we were recording at the time, but you hear that write what you know, or write what you want to know. And for me, it's write what you can't ignore. Something sticking to you is likely to have some kind of draw for a reader, I believe. And like I said, I think that's I sort of trust in that. If I can't stop thinking about this, perhaps it's that interesting, and hopefully I can put it to story.
Well, my last question for you is always some variation. If you could go back toward the start of your career, middle career, wherever would be useful for you, and offer yourself some writing advice that would have made a difference for you and might make a difference for anyone who's watching or listening to us right now, and that might even be a potential candidate for a 5th motto, what would you go back and tell yourself?
I think for me, I think it's something that I think this is advice people don't need anymore because I think they know it better than I knew it. This is, I mean, I'm going to sound like such a dope, but I think I thought that I needed to kind of sit back and see whether a book did all right before I submitted some more to that editor and, and got going. And, I know that people were saying to me, oh, what are you going to throw at her next? What are you going to throw at her next? And all I could think was, well, don't we have to see like whether this book does anything in order for them to know whether they want another one. And I don't know why I had that sort of hang up in my mind. I mean, I was already, I did follow that, okay, now, it's being published, you'll get your revisions. In the meantime, write the next book. I was doing that. I was writing it. But I think I hesitated to show things. I think I felt like there was proving ground that needed to happen or something. And it's totally erroneous. I don't know why I thought that. They can certainly decide. But yeah, I think I probably would suggest, being ready to move another manuscript toward the process, even when you're still working, even when you're still waiting for revisions on one, be doing that. But like I said, I think most people know that these days.
Well, then knowing it and putting it in action are two different things.
I realize. I felt a certain shyness about having had something accepted, I think. And I think I would have given myself a little elbow and said, now don't be shy. Don't think that's the only book that you have in you, go ahead. There might be another really good idea coming up here. You got to trust this once, you got to trust it again. And go, so I think so maybe my advice would be, be less shy.
Well, I'm sure that all the writers and artists listening and watching to us will take that to heart. And there's no shyness amongst the writers. I'm sure, not even an issue.
They probably got it knocked. Yeah.